We are back with Emily Reichert, the CEO of Greentown Labs, and hopefully you were on this morning for the policy panel that she was on. It was a great panel and great perspective, actually, from an incubator. So actually, I would love to just start with a brief thumbnail. Your organization's billed as the largest clean tech incubator in the United States, which I was like, whoa, I didn't know about that.
Wow.
But you're not in Silicon Valley, which I think I love that. How do you catalyze innovation? I mean, and why did you feel it was so important to talk about the policy aspect of that at this event?
Well, I think the policy aspect has become, of course, much more relevant for the clean energy and clean tech industries over the past year or so. And I think it is important when you're supporting companies that are trying to get clean tech out into the world to be able to make sure that they have what they need. And a lot of times that means different sources of capital need to be available. And one of those sources of capital tends to come from government policy. So you're talking about government grants and also just supportive policies. The ITC and PTC, which are tax-related policy, that's important for the long-term growth of markets that some of our companies want to get in.
Right. You actually had a lot to say about state policy, though, this earlier today, and I'm going to ask. This is going to tie this to, because I would love for the audience to hear a little bit more about where you're focusing. 8 different segments, ranging from robotics and process efficiency to chemicals and advanced materials to agriculture, water, and waste. Wow, lots of different areas. So, which ones are the most active right now from a both investment and policy standpoint? Where are you focusing?
Well, first of all, our definition of clean tech is basically doing more with less.
Okay.
So that is, it really kind of encompasses a lot of different fields, which you notice from those different categories there. So what are the hottest categories? I'd say agriculture is a very hot one right now. So there are a lot of startups that we're seeing who are coming in and trying to basically revolutionize the way that we get food, eat food, deal with food waste.
Right.
Other hot areas in the past couple of years have been robotics, and that's generally making manufacturing processes more efficient. And before that, there were quite a few water-related companies that came kind of all in a little trend there. So, but anything to do with the grid, I would say, is generally a pretty hot area because that is very much in the here and now of where we're going.
Well, and in Massachusetts, what has the largest energy storage? No, New York, and it's like New York, Massachusetts, and California.
Right, absolutely. So Massachusetts definitely has taken a leadership role in energy storage, really putting out there, we are going to do this by a certain date, and there has been really government funding and policy to back that up. There is a program right now that is ongoing, and it is basically an opportunity for many different organizations to come in and demonstrate not only technology, but what business models are going to work around energy storage. And that's the ACES program.
It's great that you mentioned ag tech, too, because we actually just had a story on the site this morning about how Silicon Valley is really following down. I didn't write it, that one, but they're falling down on investment. So I'm glad you're focused on that area. One final question, just you represent startups and innovators and entrepreneurs and so forth. How do you work with corporates, like people? How do you help them catalyze their efforts? Like in essence, like you could be like matchmaker or right? What are you doing now?
Absolutely what we do. We do a lot of matchmaking between corporates that basically come to us with interest in knowing more about what the trends are, accessing the new ideas, the talent, the startup companies that they can acquire or invest in. So we really are trying to respond to that all the time. And then on the other side, we have the startups who basically need to get their technology into the world and often need a scaling partner. And so it really is a nice match. And the question is, when in the process of the startup's growth do you do that?
Right.
And I guess the trend that I've seen over the time I've been working in this industry is that the corporates are getting more and more interested in the early stage. Mm-hmm. Even if it's some kind of partnership like a JDA rather than an early investment. They're kind of getting involved even into Series A and pre-Series A, which is unusual. Right. I mean, it's not, that's different than it was even 5 years ago.
Well, go forth and innovate or help innovate. And thank you for joining us here at GreenBiz 18. Thank you so much for being on the main stage today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.